Oh my God, is it gonna stay the size? Oh my goodness, this is so crazy. Oh, Lord help me.
We made it! Guys, you did it!
I'm here. Okay. I think maybe it's gonna stick now. What do you think?
Okay.
I've been on for
I
more
hope
than 30
so.
seconds.
I hope so.
Okay. Let's get through our questions fast before it kicks me out. Okay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right in because we've been on here for 15 minutes and I've just been
Okay.
buffering. But let me tell you, here's the value. Here's the value. Okay.
Yeah.
My first
Shoot.
question. Hold on, wait 1 second. My note closed on me.
How is everybody? How many people? Oh, we got 4 viewers right now.
Let's see. All right. Miss Flo, introduce yourself.
I'm Florine Kay. I work with Epiq Lending. I actually met Joy a couple months ago. Was it like September or so? And we've been slowly working together. I've been a lender with Epiq for about 6 months or so. It's a new JV company. Before that, I worked for CMG Financial. So one of the cool caveats about me is I'm also a real estate agent, which is pretty unique. A lot of agents are like, well, wait a minute, you're a real estate agent. But no, let me tell you, I think being a real estate agent actually makes me a better lender because I see the same point of view you guys do. I've worked all the same tools that you guys use. I have access to all the same tools that you guys use. So a lot of times when I'm working with my realtor partners, they'll tell me, hey, Flo, can you just tell me about this MLS? And they just give me the MLS number. I pop right in. I get the taxes. I get the HOA. I can look up, all the comparables. I can give you feedback. So, stuff that sometimes most lenders can't do if they're not licensed, right? But I do have those same tools that you guys have. And what's a really great advantage to that too is I understand what it's like to have to market to your clientele, whether it's a listing or a buy side. I kind of help you guys, hey, this is what's worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you too. And it's great that way because, you all need a little bit of help. And I think, Joy, what you're doing is amazing. And so I can be the other half. I can be the other half of your real estate business as well. And that helps me as a lender. So
yeah, and let me jump in. Flo is actually helping me with one of my buyers. And when I tell you she does not cross the line of lender, realtor, she's always a lender. And she does not give that mixed signal with my buyers.
I don't even
even
a
if
lot
she
of people
finds
don't even
something,
know.
yeah, even if she finds something on the MLS that is great for my buyer, she does not put me out and then send it to her. I tell you, Flo works within her expertise. She's a lender, and that's all she represents in the transaction between myself and my client. So kudos to you, Flo. I've worked with other lenders that kind of blended the two, which kind of made the situation really not so ideal to work with, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with you, it's just clean. Like, you're the lender, I'm the realtor. Kudos. Right. I love it.
And I know that, in this market, especially, it's, you can use all the help you can get. And I think there's been actually on that one client we share right now, we've had back and forth text. Joy and I have had back and forth text about, hey, did you look at this property? Just popped up. Yeah. And I'll send it to Joy and she'll be like, oh, I didn't see that one. And then she'll go and look at it and she'll be like, okay, let's try that one. And so, because I'm in your same world, it's easy for me to help you, you to help your client. And I never do cross the line. In fact, I only do either one transaction or the other. And I'll tell you right now that the real estate transaction is only for my friends and family. My sister is going to be buying a house next year. Of course, I'm going to sell it to her, right? But my lending is the part that I focus on. That's the part I enjoy doing. So that's what we're here for. So
this totally ties into the first question I want to ask you. Like, what is the role of a lender in real estate?
So the lenders are the ones who help you pre-qualify. Well, you can't really do anything without the lender telling you, hey, this buyer's a good buyer. They do have the funds to close. So we vet all of that out for you. You should not actually be buying, going out and showing houses and getting this buyer all excited if you don't even know whether they're, they can buy a house. You're going to waste a lot of time just to find out later, oh, they're not prepared. They're not ready. They don't have any money put aside. They don't have credit. They're not ready. The lender is the one who helps you as a realtor pre-qualify, pre-vet that buyer. So that's basically our role. And then, once we've vetted them and you found the house, then the role becomes, okay, we need to collect all these docs. We need to close this loan, fund the loan, and get them those keys, right? So that's the other half of it.
Yeah. So as new agents, we're really excited to get that first buyer, right? To get them under contract, that when the first person come up to us and they're like, hey, I'm interested in buying a home. And the new agent is so excited that they just move forward. They forget to ask certain questions that will give them an idea as to if this person or this prospect could even move forward in purchasing. So what questions would you suggest or advise new agents to ask before sending them to a lender? Like, what's the pre-screening questions you would advise?
Well, first and most obvious is, are you a citizen? I know that seems like, sort of mundane to ask, but it's a very general question. And you either have to be a citizen or have some kind of a resident green card. I mean, if you don't have either of those, you can't buy a house, okay? The lender's not gonna lend to you. So that's first. The other is, have you saved up money? A lot of people think, oh, I'm gonna get a down payment assistance program and that'll be it. Well, no, you've got down payment assistance, which will help you with your closing costs, but you still have earnest money that you have to put down. When you get into the contract, you still have a down payment that you have to put in. And the minimum right now for FHA is 3.5%. If you're gonna do conventional, you'll need 10 to 20%, down. There are some loans, conventional loans, that do 5%, but all of that depends on your credit and, the analysis of all the income, credit, and assets. So basically, do you have money? Are you a citizen? Do you have credit? Credit is really important. The lender's not going to lend to you if they don't think if you don't have any credit. So when we pull up your Social Security and do a credit report and nothing comes up, we have nothing to go by. We don't know what kind of a borrower you're going to be. So no one's going to lend to you unless you have credit. So that's pretty important. One of the other things is, have you filed a BK? BK is important, especially because a lot of people have lost businesses. They've had to file bankruptcy with the whole COVID stuff and all this crazy stuff that we've been going through. So,
excuse me, BK stands for bankruptcy.
Bankruptcy, correct. Sorry, yes, bankruptcy. So bankruptcies, you want to ask about those because those kind of have different timelines based on what type of a loan you're trying to get. But you need to be out of a bankruptcy several years before you can buy a house again. So that's key. And then also along with that, if you are somebody who's had to short sale your house, that's also part of, it's also a negative hit, kind of like a bankruptcy would be. And a forbearance, any of those type of things are all going to play into it. So you'll want to ask those questions. And then the main piece, obviously, and this is pretty obvious, is do you have a job, right? We want to make sure that you have a job so you can bring in income to pay this mortgage. Well, the job timeline is 2 years, okay? Absolutely 2 years, no exceptions. But if you are at a job and you've been there 6 months, and you move to another company, as long as you're in the same field doing similar to the same type of job, we will accept that. But basically 2 years is what you have to have. So those are really important questions to ask. If any of those are like kind of a red flag and you're not sure, obviously then you call me, right? And then I'll tell you, hey, let me talk to your borrower and let's figure it out.
All right, good. Those are important questions. I tell you, I was once a new agent and I was just eager. The first person that said they wanted to buy a home, I was like, okay, connect to a lender. And then the lender's like, they're not working. They don't have no money. Their credit is trash. And I'm like, but they said they wanted to buy a house.
Right. And here's the thing too. If the issues are things like credit and we pull it and we see that maybe they're not that far off. We've worked with lots of borrowers who, we recommend credit repair for them. And honestly, it's like anything. And the branch manager will always tell you, your realtor branch manager will always tell you, ready, willing, and able. And when
Yeah,
you come across those buyers who are ready, willing, and able, they will go through the process of credit repair. I have
definitely.
one right, yeah, I have one right now that she's been fixing her credit for the last 2 months, and I'm going to be pulling it, and she's going to be ready in a few weeks. But
Yeah.
that shows me that she's a serious buyer, and it'll show you as the agent, okay, this person is really ready. They're going and preparing themselves. I mean, buying a house, you got to prepare yourself. You can't just come in and say, hey,
Absolutely.
you want to buy a house. Yeah.
All right, good, good. Come on, Flo. Flo knows her stuff. I told you. Today we are dropping jewels. We're dropping value for you new agents to get out there and get new clients. But be confident as you go and encounter these clients because you know some lending in the background, right? You know that they have to be a citizen. You know that they have to have some money saved. They have to have a job. They have to not have any BKs or bankruptcies within so many years, okay? So
Right.
you got some information to do the pre-screening. And if they don't meet all of those criteria, you can still connect with the lender and they'll build a game plan for them to move forward. And if your buyer is able, ready, and willing, 2 months later, 3 months later, they'll get that pre-approval because they actually did the work to become a homeowner. All
Right.
right. What documents are needed? What documents do the home buyer need to provide to the lenders?
So when you've got a borrower who's coming to you and saying, oh, well, you've asked me all these questions, great. The first thing you want to do is connect them to the lender. If they don't have a lender, connect them to a lender. Hopefully it's me. But I actually have a mobile app that I share with a lot of my realtor partners. And what I do with my mobile app, it's a mobile application. So basically you can forward this on text to their cell phone, because we're all on the cell now, to somebody's cell phone, and they can fill out the mortgage application. But when I do it with, and a realtor wants to use it right then and there, so that you don't, because you have your buyer right in front of you, you don't want to lose them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just ask me, I'll co-brand my app with you, and when you send it, it'll have your picture, your license number, your company name, your contact info, how to get a hold of your email, and then I'll have my same information as well. So what that does is for you is it allows you to capture that lead or that person you're talking to right then and there and get them to fill out the app. Because once people start, they usually continue with that process. And so you don't want to lose them. And honestly, whether it's me or somebody else, the most important thing is you've got to get them ready to buy this house. You got to get them pre-approved. So the sooner you get them a mobile app or some kind of a lender to fill out an app with the lender, then the better off you are. I have the mobile app that I co-brand, and we have a website portal that's secure so that we can collect the docs. The docs normally, I don't know if you're writing this down, 2 years of tax returns, the most recent tax returns, 2 consecutive pay stubs, the most recent. That doesn't mean like November's, that means this last January and December,
Like
right?
now.
Yeah, right now. Same with the bank statements. Think of it in twos, right? So 2 years of bank statements, 2 consecutive pay stubs, 2 years of tax returns, and driver's license, social security card. Those are just general stuff. If you're retired, if you're dealing with somebody who's retired, we're going to need an award letter that shows what you get for retirement income, so we consider that as income.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going through a divorce or have had a divorce, usually we'll ask for those 2 divorce
All right.
papers. Mm-hmm.
Good, good. See, I told you guys to have a pen and paper ready because we got great information. We got questions that you may need answers to. And as long as you got your pen and your paper, you can jot it down. But if there's anything that we speak of that you're not able to catch, feel free to contact us. Our information is in the chat, okay? And if there's a question that we do not address, Flo is your girl, okay? All right, so let's move on. What type of loans are there? Like, what loans do you offer?
So every lender is pretty much the same. We all
Mm-hmm.
offer FHAs, usually FHA, VA, conventional. There's a USDA. Those are rural loans. There's jumbo loans, bank statement loans, and then we have those specialty programs that are like the medical loans, the firefighter loans, the teachers loans. These are all programs that have special incentives for like the heroes that help us in this country. So basically, those are the types of loans. Obviously, depending on what type of borrower you are, we have different things that we combine with those types of loans. Like with the FHA loan, we have different down payment assistance programs for first-time home buyers, and then there are some that you don't have to be a first-time home buyer to have a down payment. So, as in general, most lenders have the same type of loans.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about interest-only loans?
So they do. I believe they do exist, but they're not really interest-only loans. We don't do them at Epiq, but what they are is they're not technically interest-only loans. We do have an interest-only loan, but it's sort of it's called an all-in-one loan. And actually, I'm going to be doing a class in it pretty soon. And that is an interest-only loan, but it's a specific loan to a specific type of borrower. So basically, they have very strict criteria: 700 FICO score. You're going to have a good credit rating with good history of money in the bank, reserves, those type of things. But interest-only, I mean, that's the only one we have. There are, like I said, other lenders who get kind of creative with interest-only loans, but the only one we do is the all-in-one loan.
Okay. What's the criteria for each of these loans, or is that too long of a?
Yeah, it's kind of a long answer, but basically there's 3 criteria for any borrower, which will decide what type of loan is best for you. So that's our job, is to figure out, the analysis of your credit, your income, and your assets. And depending on how those come out and the combination of those, we can figure out, okay, well, they have, a lot of savings in their account. Maybe they can put down 20%. So you might want to do a conventional loan. Maybe you don't have as much money and you're a first-time home buyer, so we'll probably put you into an FHA loan. So it depends on the analysis of those 3 criteria. So credit, income, and assets are the 3 main things, and then that will kind of decide what type of loan you'll go into. Obviously, if you're a veteran, that's an easy one, right? You'll use the VA loan because you've got an eligibility that will apply to that.
Okay. I have a quick question from Lenny. She said, "Are you a Homes for Hero lender affiliate?"
Yes. Well, Homes for Heroes, yes, that's the VA loan. Those are like the medical loans. There's teacher loans. Yes, we do those.
Okay. Great. Let me see what next question I want to ask. How important is it to have a lender with an in-house underwriter? And does it matter? I know when I speak to speakers, their pitch is, we have an in-house underwriter. So I could walk right over to them and have them review some documents.
Right.
And then I'm thinking like, okay, so do all lenders not have in-house underwriters? And like, what else, what's behind the doors that we don't know when it comes to lending? Because I see your face, right, Flo? And then you have a group of people that assist you. So it's a plethora of people who actually serve our clients to get them approved and then finally keys in their hand that we don't actually see, but
Right. So actually, I'm going to reformulate your question, because basically every lender has an in-house underwriter. The underwriter's job, they're on staff, their job is to underwrite the loans that lender has in queue, in their portfolio of loans. So an underwriter is always in-house with a lender. The only time that you won't have an underwriter technically, quote unquote, in-house, is if you're a mortgage broker. Now, there's a difference between the mortgage lender and a mortgage broker. A mortgage broker will accept an application, prepare the whole structure of the loan, and then they have usually a network of lenders that they feel, okay, this lender that I've worked with in the past, I think they can get this loan done for me because this is a specific type of borrower, and I know that lender has done that for me before in the past. I'm going to give this loan to that lender, and then that lender is the one that does the disclosures. They're the ones that collect, all well, sometimes the broker will help collect the information, but the lender takes all of that. The mortgage lender takes all that information. They're the ones who go through the processing. They're the ones who do the underwriting. They're the ones who do the funding and the closing. And so that's the lender side of it. And so, yes, every lender has an in-house underwriter that, goes through the requirements of the loans that they offer. The broker, the mortgage broker, doesn't have that because they're brokering it out to different lenders based on what type of borrower they have. So that's the difference. And so, yeah, if you're working with a mortgage lender, usually the mortgage lender has access, fairly quick access to that underwriter and say, hey, you know, can you tell me what's going on with this loan? You know, and why did you send me that condition when I fulfilled that condition? And so they can get their answers, you know, a little faster. Sometimes a mortgage broker kind of loses a little bit because you're a step away from it. That person doesn't really work with you. There's somebody you've brought that loan to. So
yeah, okay, got it. Thank you for that, and thanks for rephrasing my question.
That's okay. No, I mean, you know, that's the thing. That's what this is for, right? A lot of people really don't. I mean, there's so much to lending, and I mean, honestly, even speaking as a realtor, I had no idea that lenders go through all of this, and they had all these different departments. Like you were just saying, you know, there's a whole plethora of staff, and it's true. Like people think, oh, I'm going to give my loan to Flo, and that'll be it. And then there's an underwriter. Oh no, there's a loan assistant that helps me. There's a processor that prepares the whole file. There's like several sets of eyes on that file before it even gets to the underwriter. So that when the underwriter is looking at it, we're not wasting their time. We're saying to them, okay, here's the file. It's ready to go. Is it ready to be approved? And it's the underwriter's job to make sure that that loan fits all the requirements for that type of investor that's going to be sold later in a secondary market, right? So
cool. So it's you, the lending assistant,
there's a loan officer,
assistant.
Yeah, usually called an
Processing
acronym LOA.
Yeah.
There's a processor. And then there's an underwriter. And then if it's a condo, there's a condo desk underwriter. So there's two underwriters on it.
Wow, I did not know.
Yeah, and then there's the closers and the funders, and then there's also the disclosure desk. We don't want to forget the disclosure desk. They're a disclosure team. They send out all our disclosures. You know, they're the ones in charge of, okay, let's get your loan estimate out to you. Let's get the CD out to you, which is the closing disclosure. That's another department altogether.
Good. Okay, so let's jump in terminology because you just said CD. Okay, so when I was a new agent, I did not know LE, LD, CD, CTC, all these timelines. So I was just kind of like, I felt like I was going from one end to the next. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm oblivious as I'm serving my clients. And I was like, So I know it's important for new agents to know these acronyms and like where they fall in the process of the transaction.
I know, like realtors don't already have enough acronyms, right? We've got our own acronyms.
Right.
And there's a whole slew of the acronyms for realtors, but for lending is not as many, right? So LE, you had mentioned LE is a loan estimate. It's usually given no later than 3 days after we've taken the application. And when I mean taking the application, that means we've got everything that we need to really fulfill this pre-approval. So loan estimate basically is the terms of the loan. Like it's an initial estimate of, okay, this is kind of how much you're gonna have to spend based on this interest rate, and this is the loan type. And that's not the final, it's just the beginning. It's like the initial estimate so that the borrower has some idea of kind of where they fall, what they're going to be looking at when they get further down the road. So that's LE, right? And then what was the other one you had? CTC was the other question you had? That acronym?
And then CD.
Okay, so let me do the CTC first. So the CTC is a clear to close. That's what it stands for, CTC. And a clear to close means that that loan has been approved by the underwriter. So what happens is after I've prepared your buyer's documents and we've structured the loan, it's gone through the LOA, who's the first set of eyes to kind of tell me, hey, Flo, you looks good, or Flo, maybe you forgot this one thing, we're going to need it. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So after it goes to the LOA, it goes to the processor. The processor also works with the LOA, and they're like, okay, it looks good, everything looks great. We send it to the underwriter. The underwriter looks at it, and usually there's conditions. There's conditions that say, okay, we need this kind of paperwork, or we need them to fulfill reserves, or make sure that there's all these things that have to be cleared in order for that loan to be approved. Once that loan is approved, they give us a CTC, which is a clear to close. So that means, okay, we're good. But that doesn't mean that it's the end. Usually usually the lender still goes back in and they'll check credit report one more time right before you close, and then they'll check your employment to make sure, or the borrower's employment, to make sure that they're still employed, nothing's changed. And cross your fingers that your borrower has
Especially
not
in
bought
that
a
time,
car.
you're like,
Yeah, you always hear these horror stories. Oh my God, they bought a car. Where did you buy a car yesterday? You know? Yeah. So that's how those people
we're
get
still,
caught, is
as,
because
as
at the very,
realtors, we're still waiting for that. It's funded. We're like,
yes,
yes.
yes.
We don't care
That's
about the
when,
credit card. We're waiting for the
right,
funded.
right. So we do that last minute check, and then when everything's good, the CD goes out, which is the closing disclosure. And we send that out 3 days before close of escrow. So,
Okay.
so one of the like red flags for a realtor is like, if that CD hasn't gone out and your close of escrow is tomorrow, you're going to be filing an extension, because by law, we as a lender have to give that borrower 3 days to review that closing disclosure. So it's always going to be 3 days. So that's something you might want to work with your lenders. When, like if you know that your close of escrow is tomorrow, that CD better have been sent out 3 days before.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. We've been on here for about 40 minutes. We're going to start wrapping it up.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Maybe we can answer some of the questions that came in. I don't know if I can't see the
hold on. I
questions.
still do. So, Dakisha wants to know, how do buyers buy down interest rates?
Oh, okay. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Okay. So, when we do that analysis on their credit, their assets, their income, all of that, we have something that helps us with pricing, and it kind of tells us, okay, well, based on this borrower and the criteria of that borrower, the analysis of that borrower's credit report, this is the interest rate we're willing to offer them. Sometimes that interest rate isn't ideal for DTI, which is the debt to income. Sometimes it's not ideal to the borrower. They may want to have a lower interest rate because they know maybe over time that they're going to want a lower payment. So buying down points means that you're paying upfront at closing to get a lower interest rate. And it depends. It's like if you're coming down like a whole point, sometimes it can be pretty expensive. But if your borrower has the money and they're like, no, I've got this money, I've been gifted this money, it's been cleared to close, everybody's good with the fact that I'm getting gifted money, and I really want to buy down these points, I'm gonna I don't mind if I pay several $1,000s to get this lower interest rate. So yeah, I'll pay upfront costs at closing to get a lower interest rate. So that's what that is.
All right. And then we have another question. I don't know if this could be answered right now. It says, what's the debt to ratio to qualify for first-time home buying programs?
Okay, so there's two different types of first-time home buyer programs that I'm currently working with a lot heavily. One of them is the Home is Possible one, which a lot of people know about, the FHA Home is Possible. And on that one, it's 43% for a DTI. I have seen some of them where they're 45. It depends on like I said, sometimes this depends on the criteria of that loan, right? That borrower, and how much they're putting down, that type of thing. So usually 43% for FHA. The new one that I've been working with, which is Chenoa Fund, the DTI is a little higher. It's actually quite a bit higher. It's like a 50%. But, anywhere between 43 and 50, I can find you a down payment assistance program. Of course, there's minimum credit scores too that go with that.
Yeah.
So.
I want to bounce back to the interest question, because Dakisha asked, how can you buy down the interest rates? What are you thinking about the interest rates now? Right.
Yeah, we're spoiled, okay? Because the last couple of years we've been experiencing, 2% interest, 3% interest. Yeah, and now it's around, hovering around 4, sometimes 4.25. Sometimes there you can find one for 3.8, 3.7, but they're still quite a bit higher than they were last year, around the same time. But those were very unusual circumstances. Historically, we haven't seen low interest rates that low before. So this interest rate that we're seeing right now is actually not a bad interest rate at all. And if you talk to somebody like my age, and I'm really dating myself here because I'm a baby boomer, and I'm 57, so
Looking good, girl. Looking good.
Thank you. Back in the 80s, I mean, those interest rates were really high. They were like, as high as 18%, I think. I think the average was like 16%. So, and we're sitting here at 4, and people are like, oh my God, it's going up. And yes,
that's all I hear. Interest rates are going up.
And they are going up. They are going up. But compared to what? Compared to last year, which was, and the year before probably, which is very unprecedented low interest rates, right? So that's really out of the norm. That's not something that's normal, seeing those interest rates that low. And that's why people were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And if you're one of the lucky few that got to refi your house at one of those really low interest rates, kudos to you. Like, hang on to that, right? But the 4% is still not bad. It's still not bad, but it is going up. It is going up.
Okay. So since interest rates are going up, what does that mean to the buyer? And what's the correlation between interest rates and how much you can actually afford?
Right. So DTI is what it affects. When we're in our mortgage lending software, it has algorithms that calculate, all the amortization schedules with it. What's it going to cost? What does their debt look like? And when we put interest rates in at 4%, and then if I put it in at 3%, well, obviously it's going to be lower. So if the interest rate is a little higher, the payment's going to be a little higher. If the interest rate is lower, then obviously the payment will be lower. So that's the correlation there they're directly tied together with the DTI.
Yep. So all of the buyers that waited to purchase this year, because last year we had some buyers that put it on hold because of how crazy the market is. Now, when they go to qualify or pre-approve, the interest rates are going to be higher, which is going to decrease what they could have afforded last year if they did not increase their income, correct?
Correct. Yeah, there is such a thing as pricing yourself out of the market, all right? So I always tell people, look, if you're ready to buy a house, you've got the money right now, you've got the funds, you've got the income, everything looks good. Why are you waiting? There's never going to be, you can't forecast, next year is going to be better for me, or next year they're going to go down, and even me, like today, I'm telling you the interest rates are going up. I mean, tomorrow we could wake up and they could come crashing down. I don't know, but that's kind of the trend of what's happening. And so, you can price yourself out of the market if you wait too long, right? And the market and the interest rates go up.
So when I have people who are interested in purchasing their home, they're like, how's the market? And I'm like, how's your affairs? What's your credit like? What's your income? You know what I'm saying? The market does not dictate if you're able to purchase the home, but your affairs, your circumstances, and where you're at now. You don't know where you'll be tomorrow, right? Who cares what the market is always going to be all over the place. But as long as you're stable and you know where you fall or qualify for or can move forward, that's what you base it on. You don't base it on the market, but you base it on your affairs and what your circumstances look like. So
I actually love the way you put that, because that is so 100% true.
Yeah, people are like, well, the market's too high, I'm gonna wait till it falls. Okay, and then who are you gonna really compete with? Do you have cash? Because investors were buying last year, right? And that was a high market. So imagine if it's low. Investors are going to come and it's going to price you out. Like, you can't compete with investors who have cash. And then if the market does crash, then the lending regulations become stricter, right? Yeah. So if your affairs say buy now, like your credit is good, your income is good, debt to income ratio is good, now is the time. It doesn't matter how much the homes cost now, because you're not paying it all in one lump sum. You know,
Right.
you got 360 payments to make or something like that,
That's
depending on
right.
your home. So don't look at the whole $400,000. Oh, that's a lot, because it's probably going to be $1,600 a month.
Right.
Who knows? So
Right.
break that big baby down into chunks. And if your affairs say now is the time to be a home buyer, move forward. Connect with your lender. I have a lender here, you know, and there's realtors all over the place. I'm a realtor too. So move forward for all those home buyers that's watching this video. If your affairs say go, then go.
Totally
All right.
agreed.
So I want to ask some questions when that relates to when new agents are building their team and they're looking for lenders, looking for home inspectors or escrow officers. What should they look for when they're looking for a lender specifically?
Well, it's always about your relationship, right? You have to be able to work with that lender. Do you and that lender sync? I mean, do you kind of talk the same language? You feel comfortable about that with that person? Do you feel like you're getting your questions answered by that lender? I mean, the relationship between a lender and a realtor is really close. And
Yeah.
if you don't feel close to that lender, you're probably not going to get a lot of feedback from them. And then when you really need them, you're going to feel like you're just hanging out there like, oh my God, I got to get this offer in. They're not responding to me. And I don't know what their lifestyle's like. Like with you and I, we work pretty closely together. You already know my style. Like you'll send something to me. If I'm busy, I'm going to say, I always text you back. I'll call you in a minute. Give me 30 minutes.
Very
So like,
responsive.
yeah, communication is super key. Do you and that lender sync together well, personality wise? Do you understand each other? Is that lender patient with you? Are they going to help educate you through the process? And are they going to be available? Those are super, super important.
Yeah. You definitely want a lender that's going to work with you as a team and not oppose it.
Right.
I had a lender that I was working with, and I could barely get in contact with them. I didn't know what was going on. Okay. And it makes me feel as though I can't really serve my client right, because my client's telling me something that the lender told her, and I'm like, well, I didn't know, because the lender's not responding. So you definitely want to build your team with people who you can communicate with, and you build a rapport, and you're comfortable referring your clients to them, and you can ensure that you guys are going to work as a team, and you're not like in the left out and you don't know what's really going on.
And you know, the thing too is I understand what that's like for you guys because, like I said, like I'm a realtor. I've been a realtor. I know what it's like. Like realtors work on weekends. You know, you're working in the morning, at night, you're showing houses, and I've shown houses at night, you know,
Same
so
here.
like sometimes, yeah, and sometimes you're like, hey, my buyer loves this house and it's 9 o'clock at night. I'm gonna draft this offer because guess what? This market we're in is crazy competitive.
Right.
If you don't get that offer in right away, you might miss out. So you want your lender to be available and say, hey, you know, what do you think about this? The HOA is this amount. You think they're still going to be good? Is that lender, you know that file well enough to say, yeah, go ahead, let's do it? Or are they going to respond to you? You know, so I work on weekends. So you want a lender that's going to, I mean, they don't have to work on weekends because technically a lender can't access any rates on the weekends because the market's closed. So the last rates we see are the ones on Friday night. We won't know what those rates look like until Monday morning when everything opens back up. But we know the timelines for appraisals, right? We know the timelines for general, you know, turnaround time on loan, like when are we going to get to close this loan? Can we close it early? Yeah, so those are things that like
there's other ways you can aid because when I submit offers, I always CC my lender as well. And I expect for my lenders to jump in and be like, hey, this client is good. We done did this, we done did that. You know, if you need anything, go ahead and reach out to me. If you know, so I always expect for my lenders to double team the listing agent, right? With this, it's like extra support. Like it's not just me saying that they're good, but then the person who actually who did their financial assessment is like, hey, yeah, they real good. You might want to choose this offer. Besides, the offer is really strong and it's good. And plus, McJoy is on it. You know what I mean? I mean, I love for my lenders to jump on that offer thread and just, you know, do their thing, support me support the client. So that's perfect. What tools can a lender offer an agent to help support and grow their business?
So besides the mobile app, which I had mentioned earlier, which we can co-brand, I do co-branded flyers. So, you know, sometimes agents will have open houses, and loan officers, they'll ask loan officers, hey, can you do this open house with me? And the loan officer will go and do the open house with the agent to help kind of answer loan questions, right, for people who come through, help secure and get that buyer, you know, who's interested right then and there, because they're right in front of you. So sometimes having a lender there to answer those lending questions helps. But that's another tool. But the co-branded flyers are really big. We have lots of different types of co-branded flyers, everything from the different types of loans to just general rent versus buy type of flyers, you know, those type of things. So those are some other tools that you can access from a lender. And most lenders have that. But I like to co-brand a lot of my my flyers with my realtors.
Okay, good. And I'm sure you're open to do home buyer seminars as well, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
On-site approval, as long as you have all your documents.
Yeah, like if you have a group of people that you want to present to, call me. I will come and help you.
All right. Okay, so we're nearing almost an hour. So Flo, I want you to take some time out to just fluff about yourself. We have new agents here, and talk about who you are and extend your services to them.
So I'm out of the Realty One office. Are most of the people you work with out of Realty One, Joy, or are they different agents out of different places?
They're different, but I've worked with quite a few from Realty One because we have so many agents. So.
Yeah. So I office out of the Realty. I'm at the Realty One office pretty often, but I also have another office that's off of Lake Mead, which is just for Epiq, you know, for people who are non-Realty One agents. So I'm very accessible. I'm really good with my phone. Like honestly, like if you can't reach me on a call or in person, text me. I will always answer the phone. I'm, you know, like I said earlier, I'm pretty involved with the realtor partners I have because they're my peeps, you know, we work together. And so I'm very loyal when it comes to helping out the people I do business with. I do have, can I do a little selfish plug?
You can.
Here we go. There's my info. Can you see it?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You know what?
Screenshot
we
that.
So involved in the questions. I forgot to ask you one.
What?
The process from, you know, getting an offer accepted to close.
Oh.
I don't know if that's too long to like add it in.
You know what? I actually have something. I brought it because I figured you were probably going to ask something like that. It's a very common question.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually